Good morning, dear friends. My name is Yuri Bisarab, and in my programs I speak about the practical application of post-psychological autodidactics of Valery Kourinsky. Today I would like to touch a very sensitive issue of depression, and I underline, I will speak only about light forms of depression. So, when we look around, we can identify that very often people are depressed, or very often we are depressed. So what is that? If you look into different encyclopedias, including Wikipedia, we can come to a conclusion that depression is a state of, let's say, of our humor, of our mind, which is depressed. And also it turns into like we are helpless very often. And if to observe the life, we can identify the sources of depression and when it begins. Usually, to your surprise, or maybe not to your surprise, but the light forms of depression begin when we start going to the school. Just imagine how difficult it is, how hard it is to sit for 45 minutes or so and speak and end only about the same subject, one subject. So this is the beginning. Then it goes to college, it continues, and then to university, and then we go to work with the same state of depression in our soul. I will use the word soul because it gives me an opportunity to use it to be more philosophical rather than scientific when we use the word psyche. So there is a very good book in English literature, in American literature, The Catcher in the Rye. You see, somebody sending messages to me. So The Catcher in the Rye. This is a very good book which describes a depression of a boy who goes to the college, who was kicked out of the college, and you will definitely enjoy, and you will see the examples of how boys are trying to cope with depression in the school. Or boredom is a light form of depression. Also, we have to remember that. And then later on, when we already are grown-ups, and when we don't do anything, we can. We would definitely come to heavier forms of depression. And there is the other author, Hermann Hesse, and his book SteppenWolf. He's a German author, Austrian, probably Austrian, yeah. He's an Austrian author, and this novel shows already a heavy forms of depression. When we are thinking about suicide, when we start using drugs. So I have a little sort of a request. Whenever it comes, God save you, but whenever it comes to thinking about suicide, remember that there is at least one person in this world who needs you. Just remember about these things, and this is the most important. If you are watching this program, this is the most important to take from it. So, to my mind, we have this problem of depression because our imagination, as a tool or as a part of soul. I speak about imagination, and you can use it but yeah, it's rather better to use imagination, not mind, because mind is something not working, not like instrumental. But imagination, it's very instrumental, and it's a part of mind, and it's a part of our psyche or of our soul. So imagination doesn't provide enough of food, enough of material for a beautiful material. Of something which is very interesting to the soul. That's why the response of the soul is to have the state of depression. So that's a sign for us that we need to do something. If we live, and of course we live, usually. Well, I can draw a picture for you just to demonstrate how it looks like. Usually when we have something to do, or when we love something to do, it's better to say. So we are working like this. It usually acts naturally, it happens like this, that we love something, then we read and learn something more, then we come to this peak, And then if we continue doing this, to reading the same book or studying the same subject, it goes like this, down, and usually it doesn't come even up very often. We have to make a break because we are forced to, by our psyche, by our soul, we are forced to take a break because it's boring. We cannot learn it anymore. So we need to do something. And I remember the presentation of Kourinsky, and in the end of the presentation, one lady came up to him and asked him, Valery Alexandrovich, I have a depression. What should I do? He answered, get one more, or better if you get more than just one. So what does it say to us? That we need to provide for our imagination some instruments for the imagination to use, which will help to deliver the necessary material, the beautiful material, the interesting material to our soul. And for this, we could divide these instruments into two, let's say, two ways. Or two forms, philosophical instruments, and I will name them right now. First of all, in post-psychology, Kourinsky suggested to believe that a human comes from the beautiful, right? Not from the animal, but from the beautiful. It's a philosophical principle of post-psychology. Next point. We need to understand that human nature, it also comes from the works of Kourinsky, that human nature, or we are humans made in we have a dual nature. On one hand, we have this material body, yes, and with a soul, of course, in it, and with imagination in this, but at the same time, something in our imagination, I don't want to give the name to it, but something in our imagination allows us to see what is happening in us, to see what is happening in our, let's say, body, in our soul. And that's something I suggested to have a better idea or an easier way to feel it. I suggested to use to imagine that we have like a chip. We can add to the chip a video camera. So this organ is set in our imagination, of course in our mind, in our soul, and it allows us to take a distance, right? And from the distance to observe what we are doing, what we are feeling. So this is what makes us different from, let's say, maybe from the animals. And also this instrument, the more cultural we are, the more beautiful experience we have, the better this instrument is working. In later programs, in future programs, I will speak more about introspection. So we will learn with you instruments of introspection that were developed by Kourinsky or found by Kourinsky, and that will arm us to better handle with different situations and also to better see what really is happening to us. Also, we need to better handle with this. We need to identify our calling or our vocation. That is the beginning of energy. That's the beginning of everything. And also, we spoke about it's in the previous programs. I spoke about that, and also about how to actualize interest or how to get interest for us when we learn something or when we do something. Also, I spoke in the previous program about necessity of having a cultural group of subjects. In other words, if we love some kind of a subject, some kind of a trade or business, and if we practice it, so usually the picture will look like this all the time. It will repeat. So we need to select some other close subjects to our favorite one, right? So, and that is a culturological group of subjects or of matters. And then when we come to this point of our interest, and interest is a feeling, so when we come to this, we switch to a different subject. We take a different book, and then again and again, and then so we can live in that let's state of interest, actualized interest, longer than usually we live. And this makes our life so let's say so beautiful. It drugs us, in fact, with energy. The beautiful drugs us with energy. So this is another tool to use. Then also we need to refuse from such a notion as mood. In German language, mood is Stimmung, but another meaning of this word is also tuning. So we have to refuse this first part of this Stimmung or mood, and we should use only tuning, because then it turns into an instrument which we can use and to handle different situations, and especially to handle what is happening in our soul. Also, there is one more instrument which is called in post psychology as atomic honesty. So think about this. We should be honest on the atomic level. If there is need to lie, we should not lie. So that gives us also a lot of energy. And for those people who are in a difficult situation, who feel that depression, but still they can handle it, so one more solution is to become a volunteer, to help others, because they're good, beautiful actions. They also help us to get out of that, let's say, state of depression. There are some other instruments which are called applied instruments, and we will speak about later, maybe in other programs, about languages, how to learn languages. For us, because languages open the door to the beautiful which is in literatures in different countries, in different languages, and also music. Next point, next instrument is music. There is a book which is called Classical Music for Dummies. That's the book to begin with, because they have a good list of classical music they're very beautiful, tested by time. That is, there is no doubt that is a good list of music to listen to. Also philosophy, we could start with just general course of philosophy, because it will help us to think and to develop our thinking. Art, of course, there are a lot of books of art, and that is also one more instrument which is needed for our imagination, for that imagination to develop the peak experience, or very beautiful experience into our soul. And also, let's not forget about the nature. And with this, I could come to a conclusion that, in general, a light form of depression, it's fine. It's very good, because it's a sign that we are alive, that it's working in us. We have the soul, but we need to do something. And now you have the instruments, and I hope you have at least more instruments to use in order to handle it. And I wish you to have a very good, to have a lot of good experience. And if you like this program, put like and also share it on Facebook or in other social media. And bye bye. See you in the future.